Hey everyone, my name is John. In this video I'm going to show you how I made my first woodworking mallet. It's made out of walnut with brass inlay and maple handle, and inside the mallet head as well with a wedged mortise and tenon joint. So as far as the maple is concerned, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm really not sure it turned out to be maple. It was given to me by some co-workers. They said it was maple. As I got to working with it, I really don't think it is. I think it's, in my opinion, it might be actually be poplar. But for the sake of the video, it worked out and it was still a great experience to build it. So let me show you how I did it. So as I'm milling up the inside of what will be the interior of the mallet head, you will notice that I'm putting a slight angle on the interior sides. This will be to accept the future wedges to make the wedged mortise and tenon joint. Now the glue up turned out to be quite humorous, at least on my side. It all started off with the nozzle on the glue bot being all clogged. I should have checked that, but I didn't. So I just ended up taking it off and then just kind of dumping it out on each side. As you see, it it got all over the place and way too much, but I made it work. Back to the handle, I take it over to the drill press and drill a couple holes. Now what this does is when you cut these slots that you'll see coming up and then in the future drive the wedges into there, it allows release so that it will not crack the wood continuing on down the grain from those slots. And then I decided to do some shaping on the handle. I first started off on the belt sander just to get the corners down pretty far. Then I moved over to the orbital sander just with some rough 80 grit sandpaper. This really did the bulk of the shaping. And then back over to the bandsaw again just to nip off the end to get it to a better length. I had some thick chunks of leftover walnut that I used to produce the wedges to go into the mallet head. As I'm cutting them, you'll probably notice that I stopped just shy of cutting all the way through. The reason I did this is I don't have a zero clearance plate and I didn't want the thin pieces falling down into the throat or the body of the table saw. And back to the mallet head, I put a 3-degree cut on each side of the mallet head. And with an 1/8 inch roundover bit on my trim router, I quickly took care of all the edges on the mallet head. This may have been a little premature, you know, with the future sanding coming up, but I went with it. Now it's time to meticulously mark out all the lines for the future slots to accept the brass inlays. And here's just a quick shot of the jig that I produced to help me use the router to cut the slots. It's basically just 2 pieces of scrap plywood clamped together, which I then in turn clamped to the bench over the mallet head. Seemed like a lot, but you know, whatever you have to do to make it work. And this time it worked out great. And after cutting each piece of rounded brass, I took it over to the bench grinder just to round over the edges and really get it down to the exact length to fit down into the slots. And now to get the brass glued down into the walnut. For this, I used some 5-minute epoxy. set the brass down in there, and then I already had some scrap flat walnut laying around, so I put some painter's tape on that and used that to press down onto the brass evenly and get that clamped down to the tabletop. Even though it was 5-minute epoxy, I went ahead and let it set overnight and then came back the following day and repeated the process until I had both sides done. And once both sides were done, it was time to remove the pieces of wood and the clamps with the help of my #1 shop buddy. He really wanted to see how this process turned out. And now a real fun part, which was trying to get the rounded brass down level with the walnut. I went through several means of trying to get this done, ultimately ending up with a file. And lots of filing ensued. This took quite a bit. But ultimately it turned out to be the best way to get the job done. And now the best part. Well, second to putting the finish on at the end here, but finally getting to glue both pieces together. So, as you see, generally spread lots of glue on here and finally got the wedges set down just right. And for those of you with little ones, I'm sure you can relate to what my boy is about to say. Hold on. Okay, buddy, hold on. So after rescuing my boy from the abyss of the toilet, I came back after everything had dried and nipped off the excess wood at the top of the mallet, and then went to town with the orbital sander with some 80 grit sandpaper to get it flush with the top of the mallet head. Now this is the best part. Finally getting to put some finish on it. I just used some butcher block oil on here, obviously spread it all over the place, and it turned out great. Now, you probably will notice right at the beginning that some of the oil did react with some leftover epoxy. Not a big deal. I just went back and resanded everything down to make sure I got rid of all of that, reapplied some finish, and it came out great. All right, everybody, that's about it for this video. Thanks for watching. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you don't, nah, I'm just kidding. But anyway, make sure you do hit that subscribe button as well as that bell notification button so you don't miss any future videos. And make sure you hit that little like button as well. That helps out a lot. If you have any questions on the build, obviously leave them down below in the comments sections and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Thanks again, everybody, and we'll catch you on the next video. Bye-bye.